Heyo, we are live and on the air with Omnibros Live. My name is Omnidog, and we're here tonight with Image co-founder, amazing Spider-Man artist, and creator of Savage Dragon, Erik Larsen. Erik, how's it going?
It is going quite well.
I apologize for all the technical difficulties we had, but we're really excited to have you.
Well, it's really great to be here at long last.
We have on the panel with me tonight, we have Luis. Luis, how's it going?
Hi, good everybody.
And we have from Near Mint Condition, Omar, your IT guy.
All right.
Hey guys, thank you again, Mr. Larsen. It's a pleasure.
And from Gabe Infinity Watch, we have Gabe the Babe.
Well, what's up, everybody? Hey, what's up, guys? Glad to be here. Thanks so much for being here with us, Erik. We'll try and make this time that we had to spend to get you taken care of.
So I'm primarily going to monitor the chat to see if there are any halfway interesting questions that get asked. And because I generally ask this.
Does that ever happen? Does that ever happen? No.
No. This is their way of shuffling me out the door because I'm the old man and they don't want to listen to anything I have to say. So I do have, these guys have intelligent questions. I have all the dumb questions. So I'm going to ask my dumb questions really quickly.
All right, cool.
And that is, who is, besides your own creations, if somebody comes up to you at a show and says, would you draw me so-and-so, who is your least favorite character to draw and who's your favorite character to draw?
I don't know. Usually what'll get me is it will be people going, can you draw me? And they'll want me to do like a caricature of them.
Huh.
Or just like, could you draw some like movie star or something like that? And even if they're giving you a scrap, it can be tough when it's like, well, likenesses aren't really my bag, and so that kind of takes more work and effort and time than I'd like it to. Or real specific movie props or characters or whatever, where it's just like, okay, this is a struggle. This is going to be an ordeal.
That is so odd. I would never think to come up to you and say, draw me Judy Garland.
Well, that happens because people will just be, they've got their own weird things. There's we're going around going, I just want to get, whatever. Could you draw this character naked? I want to see them naked. And it's like, all right.
Okay, now I got a follow-up question for that.
Okay.
And as far as the characters that I like to draw, pretty much anybody naked. So, yes.
Who's the most obscure one? Like Aunt May?
Oh, man.
There's been weird ones where it'll just be like somebody's gone through Who's Who or Marvel Universe or whatever. And they'll just be like, draw this guy. I want to get every single character drawn. Can you draw? It's like, all right. Animal, vegetable, mineral man it is, or whatever. There's always some oddball. And there's always guys who just love different weird characters that you wouldn't think anybody would love.
I would think that it'd be something along the lines of maybe Savage Dragon or Spider-Man. Considering how
Savage Dragon and Spider-Man are definitely 1 and 2. Venom is really high on the list too. So those 3 are the big ones. And just because I don't have to sit there and sweat it out and think too much about it, those are kind of easy fun ones because it's like, all right, I can draw that. I know what that's all about. But it's interesting because some people will come up with something that I haven't really drawn much of before, and then I'll do it, and I'll be like, "Oh, it's a pretty bitchin' Black Panther," or whatever.
I have a follow-up question about your Venom. I remember reading many ages ago, about how you thought the character was kind of ridiculous, so of a costume coming to life. So you kind of you gave him this look, right, during your Amazing Spider-Man stint, right? And a lot of people fell in love with it. They were like, "Oh man, the giant tongue and the green slime coming out of his mouth and his crooked Kentucky teeth. This guy's awesome." Right? And I remember reading an interview with you and you were like, "Yeah, I did that because I thought the character was kind of dumb."
I think conceptually he's kind of stupid because it's like it's Peter's lovesick laundry combined with with this reporter. I mean, it's so convoluted and weird. It's like, I'm this reporter, and there was this guy who's confessing that he was really this Sin Eater guy, but then it turns out he really wasn't the Sin Eater guy. But then I reported on it, and then it turned out, and Spider-Man caught the real Sin Eater, and my foolishness was exposed, and then I lost my job. And it's like, really? That's such a roundabout way of getting to anything, why you would hate Spider-Man. If it was something more direct, like Spider-Man tried to save the Brooklyn Bridge from falling down, but he couldn't save everybody, and one person died, and then it turns out, well, that was my sister, and my little sister's dead, now I'm really pissed off. It's like, okay, I get it. You're mad at him for something he legitimately did, but you're mad at him because he caught a criminal, and that's kind of what he does. And then that criminal, it's such a convoluted mess of an origin. I still think it's a cool visual, but I just think as an origin one, it's like it's really kind of a weak roundabout way of getting there.
So you gave him that tongue because before McFarlane had drawn
what
him.
The hell? That tongue was a mistake. What happened was this. Todd McFarlane was doing they would do collections of books, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there was a collection of Spider-Man versus Venom that came out, and Todd did a new cover for it. And on the cover, Venom's mouth was open, and you could see his tongue. And I was like, oh, Todd's giving him a tongue now. I got to give him an even cooler tongue. But I didn't buy the book because it was like, I already had all those stories, and it's just a cover. I don't need that. So in my mind, I was thinking, oh, Todd's giving him this cool tongue now. When I saw the book later on, I was like, no, he just had his mouth open. There was just a little regular standard issue tongue there. It wasn't sticking out or jutting out or doing anything at all interesting. My brain had just filled in the details that was something that he was doing, and I needed to top him. Whereas it turns out he really wasn't doing anything. And so I had been crediting Todd with adding the tongue for years, and then I found out, nope, that was you, buddy. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was you. And now they're using it in the movie. So
Yeah,
technically you could call those guys up and you're like, hey, I got a copyright on that tongue.
That's all me.
That's right. Yeah, so I've always heard that that story, and I wanted to personally ask you if that was any of it was true. So yes, visually, Venom is great. Like, I mean, he's a guy.
He's cool. He's fun to draw. He's more fun to draw in ink than he is to draw in pencil because he's got so much black on him.
Yeah.
So when I was drawing him in pencil, it was kind of a pain in the ass because it'd be all these shapes, and you're just drawing and drawing and drawing, and it took forever. But when you're drawing him in ink, it's like bam, bam, bam. It's just fun because you can get out a brush and just go to town on it. So, I wasn't inking at that point. So
when you were drawing Spider-Man at the time, yeah, this is one of my favorite covers. When you were drawing Spider-Man at the time, who was your favorite character to draw? Spider-Man, Venom, or one of the other Sinister Six?
Spider-Man's a lot of fun because he can do a lot of cool stuff. I liked drawing Dr. Octopus a lot. I thought that he had sort of become kind of a weak character over the years. I just didn't think he was super strong. Just visually, that he was. You don't want to put a fat guy in tights. It's just nobody wants to see that. And he is this overweight dude, and he's running around in tights, and it's just not a good look. I had a friend who was working on. Do you know what color forms are? They're these rubber or plasticky pieces of stuff that you put on a board so you can like play with different characters. It's a thing for kids to play with.
I played with those as a kid.
There you go. One
right
guy.
Here.
So I had a friend who was drawing the Dick Tracy color forms. So this is how long ago that was, when Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy was coming out. And so he had been sent all this reference of all these Dick Tracy villains in suits. And I was like, that's a good look. I'm gonna use that for Dr. Octopus. And so that was where that came from, was Warren Beatty's Dick Tracy villains. And I was like, I'm giving him a suit. And once he was in the suit, it's like, he just looks like he's more in control. He just looks like he's got it going on, rather than, I'm a super villain. Look how dopey looking I am. And I think really that's ideally what benefits Marvel or whatever company you're working for, is making the characters as cool as you can make them, rather than making him as stupid as you can make him, because it's like, I could have made him just like, oh, he's fat, I'm going to make him even fatter and in even a worse condition, I'm going to put a zit on his ear or whatever.
Well, that was also one thing I liked about, the way you also did Dr. Octopus, is Dr. Octopus relied so much on his mechanical arms that his other arms were just, pouring coffee or doing other just kind of everyday things that just really shows how powerful and in control he was of those arms.
It's like, I know that if he's in there punching him with his ordinary arms, he's not going to do squat. So
it's those little touches.
You gave him. You gave him badass adamantium arms during the Revenge of the Sinister Six, man. You brought that back. Oh,
you're right.
I'm looking. You have no idea how big of fanboys we are.
I'm looking at the Doc Ock action figure, and you're right. He is just a pudgy guy. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want him wearing that. At best, maybe you could give him something akin to coveralls. Where it's like, all right, that's probably not the best thing with that belly.
Or that dopey haircut too.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he's not the kind of guy that you think Aunt May would be attracted to. Some big fat loser guy with a dopey haircut.
Yeah, Aunt May's no prize. Come on.
Ultimate Aunt May, on the other hand.
Or the movie Aunt May, Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, well, let's stay focused. So, out of anybody, all the characters that you have written. Now, you've gone back to Marvel since Image. You went back and did a Wolverine run.
I did Wolverine. I did a short run on Nova.
Hell yeah, Nova.
And
God, I love Nova.
What else? I wrote an issue of the Hulk. I wrote a Hulk annual also.
You did some Defenders work again too, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I did some Defenders. Fantastic Four World's Greatest Comic Magazine. Did some issues of Thor. Came back. Did some more issues of Spider-Man. So yeah, I've dabbled.
So if you could draw any current comic book character, who would you like to tackle now? DC, Marvel, like besides the Dragon, who would you like to tackle that you haven't done before?
I don't know. The great white whale is always Superman, because everybody tries and everybody fails, and he always, no matter who's working on it, it's always like, well, he still kind of sucks. The challenge of, I'm going to be the guy who does this book, and it's not going to suck, damn it. But I'd like to take a stab at doing the original Captain Marvel over at DC.
That'd be fun.
Shazam, but not call him Shazam, and not have him in the New 52 getup, because that's the frightening thing. But any character that I'm on, ends up being a character that I enjoy doing. That's like, you find something that works and you find a way of doing it that's fun to do. You know, if somebody said, "You got to do Wonder Woman," I'd be like, "All right, I'll make it cool." Just gonna have a terrible looking horse, but
You kind of did your own little Justice League for, what was it, Robert Kirkman's Invincible run? Like, you did that one issue with his semi Justice League that they all got killed off. I love that issue. I'm just a fan of your artwork and how.
yeah, no, it's been fun to do all kinds of stuff, and it's nice that people still occasionally go, "Hey, wait a minute, this guy's still alive. Let's give him some. Let's see if he wants to do something." And occasionally I do, and most often it's like, "Oh man, I'm so busy."
You are the only member of the original founders of Image. So since 1992, you have been drawing and writing your own comic book.
Yeah.
Whereas, like
Wow.
Spawn is still around, but Todd McFarlane doesn't draw it. Like, he may draw a cover here and there, but you are still writing and drawing. Even when you were publisher of Image Comics, you were still finding the time to do it. Granted, you took a break here and there, but hey, that's good for you. You need a break every once in a while. So I assume you're still having fun doing this then, huh? Coming up with story ideas.
Oh yeah. No, that's never a problem. That's never a problem. There's always just so much that after a while, there's so much stuff that's in motion that you just go, "Oh, I just need to follow up on these 15 things that I've got sitting here hanging over me, and I got stuff to keep me occupied for a long time."
Yeah, there must be a little bit of a struggle, because that Savage Dragon, what's really interesting about it is it happens in real time. Like, each issue is actually like basically 30 days. People actually die, they have birthdays, they age, and things like that. So there must be a lot, not necessarily struggles, but there's got to be a lot of just kind of like background work that you have to kind of keep in mind. Do you have like a Bible or anything?
Definitely. Like, oh yeah, now the children are 3 years old. Now they're 3.5. Now they're, and there's kind of good and bad that comes along with it. One of the tough things is, kids grow up fast, and they grow up really fast if they're aging in real time in a comic book, because they can go from not being able to, because if you have a real human being, a real kid, and they're learning how to talk, 1 month they may be able to say 1 or 2 words, and then the next month, full 30 days later, suddenly they've got a mini vocabulary, and it's not long before they're really able to talk. And it's like, yeah, but that can take place over the course of 3 months in real time, but 3 issues in a comic book, they kind of go from 0 to 60. It seems really quick, so that can kind of play into it. The characters that are growing older, it can get really complicated.
Yeah, with the
adults, they don't change a lot visually from 1 year to the next. But
I mean, Malcolm has changed so much so quickly as well when he first started coming around as well too.
Was that always your plan with Savage Dragon, to go pass on the mantle to his son and all this?
Yeah. And to keep going. The plan would be eventually to have Malcolm's children, it to be their book at some point. So, or pick one, depending on how it plays out.
Do you, after like 30 years, pretty close to 30 years of doing this, do you find yourself including more of yourself into Savage Dragon as the series goes on? Because, it's a character that has grown up with fans as well as yourself. So I'm wondering if you sprinkle little life things that happen to you inside of the book as well, and that kind of helps to move the story along.
There's a little bit of that, but there's not a huge amount. I don't want people necessarily opening it up and going, "Oh, that's what that's like."
Okay.
I get it. I mean, there's a little bit of that, kind of more so with Malcolm than with Dragon, but whatever. I mean,
there's a couple of questions from the chat that I thought, that I'd just get out of the way. They are wondering about Savage Dragon. Is there ever going to be a Savage Dragon animated series DVD released?
That is out of my hands. The show is owned by Universal, so they need to either decide to license it to somebody who makes it, or do something with it themselves. So until that happens, it's bootlegs for the lot of you.
So with that said, the reason we brought that up because we talked about it before, because Jim Lee's Wildcats is available. That's on Amazon, and apparently Universal's not releasing Savage Dragon anytime soon. But how did that come about? How did you actually get a cartoon made of your character so quickly?
How did that work remember. I didn't think anybody would ever care. So there's no point making notes. I know I met you just meet people through CAA, and so I'd sort of had a person who was kind of just trying to do stuff and pitch stuff, and several people just kind of contacted me about, hey, we want to do this stuff, and more often than not, it's been that. It's just somebody else contacting me going, we want to make a cartoon. And we had put together a pitch for initially CBS and had a different bunch of people put together there, and it didn't get picked up. They went with Wildcats and a whole bunch of other stuff instead. And then one of the people who is trying to put together the pitch for Savage Dragon, he kind of took the ball and ran with it and formed his own mini company, and then went through other people, and they just pitched it to USA, and the USA channel decided, yeah, let's do this. And it was actually a really successful show. But they had a real problem putting together a successful block, and they wanted to have a 2-hour block of cartoons. If you notice the 1 year, the 2 seasons that Dragon was on, he was surrounded by 3 different shows. They canceled all the other shows and put in 3 different shows, and then none of those were very successful. So they were just like, okay, what do we do now? And eventually they just stopped doing cartoons altogether, because I guess they just decided, well, we can't just have the one.
Yeah, the only one that's working. All the other ones can't really seem to keep up with it. Wow.
So I have a question, because in this channel we mainly, as you can tell, are collected edition guys, right? We love big hard covers.
Whoa, take it easy.
The thing with those is that you can kind of go, well, here's the Erik Larsen book. It's all the Erik Larsen.
Yeah, love it.
Spider-Man. But when it comes to like doing my own stuff, like, all right, well, I've got roughly 240 issues of Savage Dragon. Oh, that's a lot of comics.
Yeah, but you don't think look, I still have my original Savage Dragon trade paperback in the hopes that one day
there are a bunch of them, but there are still like there are gaps in the run.
Yeah.
And then there are in terms of like what people have said, well, why don't you do those big fat books? And it's like, all right, that sounds cool. What's the maximum number of issues you can put in there before people just go, I can't read this. This is too much. And because a lot of those books, they're so unwieldy. Like that Spider-Man book. Who's reading that? It's
us.
All of us.
All of us.
Where do you put it? If you're like, I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna go take this into the bathroom. I'll see you guys later. Like I've lost all feeling in my legs.
Well, yeah, but you know what to expect when you carry a big book like that.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, like there's a lot of Image comics that have gotten some really good collections in hardcovers. Yeah. Like, you've got pretty much all of Rick Remender, or for that matter, Robert Kirkman.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't really have a lot of collections from the original stuff that we got. Like, I know Gabe and I were huge fans of that stuff when they were coming out. Like, we have the trade paperbacks, but we like
thicker
I know. Why come
books.
there's no Cyberforce book? Like they should just do. Here's all Mark Silvestri's.
Yeah, that'd be great.
They solicited a compendium of like the first 50 issues of Cyberforce, and then it was canceled. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much pull you have.
A lot of times, it's just the orders aren't there. You know, because that's what it takes. It takes the fans going, we actually want this, and in some cases they don't. You know, or they don't want it in numbers enough that make it worthwhile. Mm-hmm. And if the books don't move in relatively big number and relatively quickly, what ends up happening is you get this dead inventory that's just sitting in a warehouse someplace, and then you have to start paying rent on that inventory because it's like, oh, there's storage fees and all this stuff.
I can almost. No, you know what? I can guarantee you that Savage Dragon would move in hardcover because I own the Spawn Origins collected the hardcovers.
But he doesn't have the whole book, the whole.
No, it's like there's 11 hardcovers and then there's huge absolutes of those. But those books go out of print, and when they go out of print, those reach. You know, the books themselves are like $30. They go up to like hundreds of dollars. So I know there are people that buy them. There is a market for people that love that stuff from the 90s, the stuff that we grew up with, the stuff that brought us to Image.
Are in those things?
12 issues per hardcover is what they have.
Yeah, you don't have to do big old like huge omnibuses of like 30, 40 issues. Like 12 issue oversized hardcovers would be perfect.
Yeah, but
do omnibuses. Big omnibuses.
At this point, you're still talking about $20.
People will buy it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, Invincible had 12, and all those sell.
That's a lot of books.
It is a lot of books. But
and what ends up happening is it'll be like people will buy. Hey, we're gonna buy the crap out of issue 1. It's like, all right, things are going great. By the time you get to volume 7, suddenly it's like, now we're in trouble.
That's why you got to reprint volume 1 and 2.
It's like, I want the whole thing collected.
Or you can take a gamble and print like 50 issues in one big hardcover and see if that sells. Just saying. Yeah. Marvel and DC have been doing it, and I can see Image following too. Because there's a lot of stuff out there, man.
Here you go.
I'll take my Savage Dragon to the damn bathroom. You bet your ass I will. 50 issues or not. Like
he will send you a picture proving it too.
So what you like this? You know, are those books better if they're oversized? I mean,
yes, the art is bigger. So, like, if you're comparing Savage Dragon, you know, the trade paperback to the size of even this omnibus, you know, the art
is somewhat bigger. It's not crazy bigger.
But I mean, look how thicker it is, though.
Well, do an absolute too. You have an absolute,
and then there's absolute verse. I've got letter 44, which is
I can get an absolute.
So this is about the size of an absolute. So you can tell, you know, and this is the size of books. Well, they're a little bit smaller than the Rick Remender stuff like Deadly Class, Black Science.
Well, I think personally,
there's no rhyme or reason to the size of those things. Like this guy's doing them huge. This guy's
because
size matters.
Yeah, this is America. Everything has to be bigger here.
Well, just don't do it as big as the Galactus book that came out this week. That'd be crazy.
That's insane. That book looks cool, though.
I haven't seen that one yet. I haven't been to start.
Wait, well, give me a second. Check this out. This is it right here. I got one at the store.
That's bigger than an absolute.
It's bigger than an artist edition.
Holy crap.
Yeah. It's got some massive wingspan, too, when you open it up.
Where would you keep that?
Speaking of Jack Kirby,
in the bathroom?
If I'm not mistaken, today's Jack Kirby's 101st birthday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay.
Yes.
Yesterday was. Okay. Well, the picture, there was an iconic picture that got posted today in our group. It was from Australia, so that's why it was yesterday. It was of you and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld with Jack Kirby. And first of all, that must have been amazing to have Jack Kirby in your life.
Yeah.
And I know he was a huge influence on you. Can you kind of quantify how much of an influence he is on your current stuff? And do you do homages to him? And can you tell us about your relationship with him at all?
There was no relationship to speak of in terms of, actually hanging out with him and spending much time with him. I met him on numerous occasions at conventions. It was always way too noisy for me to carry on any kind of a real conversation. And so it was pretty much, hey man, love your stuff kind of stuff, and then Jack going, you kids are the future of comics. That's like, okay, awesome. So love his work. And yeah, absolutely huge fan of everything that he's done.
Well, especially the Commandy stuff.
There does end up being little homages here and there where I'll just be like, I'm going to do an issue that's all swipes, and it's like I'm going to try it, or I'm going to look at this cover, or I'm going to be inspired by this story or that story, and mixing things up and having some fun with it. But
that's what's great about Dragon. You do what you want in that book, so you could do swipes and Kirby things
all over the map. And I know it drives some people crazy because it's like this could be anything.
No, I love that Commandy stuff that you did when you went to the future and like other worlds, man. That stuff was great.
Well, speaking of Kirby and Commandy, I know, Eric, that in artist editions, the Commandy artist edition, I think it's volumes 2 and 3, were basically 100% curated from your collection of complete issues of Jack Kirby's Commandy. Is that right?
I think there's only been 2 books, but the second book is all issues that I either own or owned. So yeah, there was a bunch of it. Yeah, I got stacks and stacks and stacks of original art. I love it.
How did that work with the artist edition? Did you scan it and send it to them? Did it come to you at a convention?
They scanned it. They actually had somebody fly up here with a scanner and just sit in my house for the better part of the day and just scan stuff. So
that's a big scan.
That's the way things work.
Now everybody gets a chance to enjoy that art.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's definitely cool because as it was, I've got them in these kind of big portfolio kind of things where you can flip through them. So for me, they've always been books anyway. Here, let me grab one.
Yes, just take a look. This is awesome.
Nice.
He might just walked out and just went to the store. He's like, forget these guys.
He's gonna go get his artist edition.
He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get some milk. I'll be right back.
I got some stuff.
Oh.
Actually, here's I got a whole bunch of stuff, but here's the first comic I ever bought with my own money. This Incredible Hulk 156.
Oh, that's a great book.
And you bought the original art?
Yeah, I bought the original art, and I also originally I had Herb do a cover recreation because I couldn't find the original for the cover, but I have the original for the entire comic.
Oh, that's the entire issue, huh? Wow.
Yeah, it's the whole issue. So,
whoa.
So this is my first comic I ever bought with my own money.
Is that the first comic you bought when you got royalties for Savage Dragon then?
Well, it was early on, but yeah, I don't remember what was the first issues I started buying. They got a bunch of issues of Commandy from, I don't even know which issue. There we go. There's Commandy.
Wow. Oh man.
Oh my God, that's great.
So it's like
do you trade sketches for some of these, like naked pictures of Aunt May?
So yeah, this was the stuff. I love Commandy, man.
Yeah.
As a kid, this is the book for me. I grew up on all that stuff.
Wow, super jealous, right?
Oh man. Yeah, there's a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, it's just great to be able to just, I swear you could probably just look at that stuff for hours. And every time you look at it, you probably see something new.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And so there'll be times I'm like, oh, I want to do a Commandy graph. This would be cool. And then I just start. It's like, oh, I can't draw horses though, so no horses.
Do you do you have any like newer artists that you enjoy a lot of their stuff? Like a lot of current artists that are working these days?
Yeah, various guys. I mean, I've bought. I like Cory Walker a whole lot. Cory drew the early issues of Invincible.
Yeah.
And has done some more later ones. So I got some of his original art. I like his stuff a lot. Just depends on various times and various runs. There'll be stuff that I'm like, oh, Carlos Pacheco on Avengers Forever. I am all about that. And I bought a bunch of pages from that. Love Mark Silvestri stuff. I got a bunch of his pages. I like Rick Leonardi's stuff. I got a bunch of his art.
I remember when I interviewed you many years ago, you and I geeking out over Rick Leonardi because that was a guy that was always able to change his style.
Yeah.
Like he drew, something that he drew like 2 years ago could look completely different than what he was drawing now. I've always been a big fan of that guy too.
Yeah, he's great. So it just depends. I mean, the various artists doing various books, I'll just be like, oh, this is awesome. I'm all about this. And then, whatever. I still go to the store when I can find the time to go to the store.
So do you have current comic books that you read these days?
I don't have a pull list, but what I'll do is I'll just go in and be like, oh, this issue of Iron Man looks good. I'll check it out. So there's a lot of just kind of grazing. Mostly I get sent all the Image stuff. So when I go into the store, I'm never buying any Image books. So it's like, what's this guy? He must hate the company he's founded. It's like, no, I get all those sent to my home. So I've got every single Image comic ever printed, so I don't need more. But so when I go to the store, it's mostly like, Mignola's doing a new Hellboy issue. I'm all over it. Or I'll be mostly mainstream Marvel and DC stuff. So like right now I'm getting Batman and Superman and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four started up again, so I'm getting that. And just kind of the meat and potatoes, regular mainstream comics. I'm still kind of still checking them out. I'm not always happy about it, but I like to keep what's going on in the world.
A lot of did you ever keep up with Nova? Because I know you were a big fan of Nova. And did you ever read any of the Annihilation stuff or any of that?
No. No, with a lot of the problem with working on stuff is that I find that once I've left it, it kind of feels like checking up on an old girlfriend. And it's like, I don't want to know what you're doing. I really don't want to know how you are and what fun you're having. I kind of just feels weird to me to read those stories and go, wait a minute, that's not what Nova would do. That's not how he would say. That's not how he would act. And even, stupid stuff like, oh, I don't like that costume redesign. Screw those guys. They're no good. So yeah, I walked away cold turkey from a lot of just different things where it's like, I'm the Doom Patrol guy. Now I'm not doing the Doom Patrol anymore. Screw the Doom Patrol. And stuff like that. And some books I've come around to kind of after a cooling off period. I'll come back and be like, all right, I'm ready to look at Spider-Man again after a few years. But like as soon as I left the book initially and Mark Bagley took over, it was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not reading this anymore.
Well, so speaking of that time, that was the beginning of Image, right? Like, I know we've all seen documentaries and things like that, but from your perspective, how did that make you feel, like being approached like, hey, we're going to start our own shit. You want in?
Well, except I was the one asking, do you want in, not the one being...
Oh, you were asking everybody else? Oh, that's awesome.
Because it was... kind of came about from a conversation we had with Malibu publisher Dave Albrecht, that Rob was pushing Dave Albrecht and saying, asking him if he would publish a book that he did, and Dave was like, sure I would, I'll publish any of you guys. And so Rob was all, yeah, this will be good. This will be awesome. And so it kind of started with me, Rob, and Valentino, and then it went out from there. And then once Todd was on board, then Todd was an active recruiter and going after various books. And so his sights were set on Jim Lee because he thought, oh, this will be the big guy, because it was we already had Rob, we already had Todd. So if we got Jim, then it's like this is the big three coming off the big three books. This is really gonna make some noise.
It did.
And then, and Mark coming aboard, was like, all right, that's awesome. And then it just became, well, you're taking everybody. What the hell, man?
You guys changed the industry. I mean, it's insane. It was a small group of guys, and I'm sure that you guys were unsure as to when you guys decided to leave the big two and start your own company. It must have been really nerve-wracking, but it's crazy.
I was relatively sure that some of us would be able to get work if it completely fell apart and didn't work. But are they gonna give me Spider-Man? Are they gonna make an actual book that's worth doing? And I had just bought a house, so I had all the money that I had was in this house, and it was like, okay, I need to make the biggest down payment I can. So, and I was working on Spider-Man stuff. So if suddenly this didn't work, then it would be like, uh-oh, you need to go do something else because this isn't working. But yeah, it was a little nerve-wracking. And I know, other people were not doing that well. So it's like, yikes, this is a risk. We have bills to pay too at the same time.
I mean, that is the dream, though, right? To go into your job and be like, screw it, I'm going solo, and then being this huge success that I don't know. I mean, maybe you saw this coming. I don't know how you Image guys felt, but I mean, it blew up.
Yeah,
like,
well, I thought there's enough good people here, and the pieces are in place that this should work. I wish other people were as devoted to making their comics as some of us were. But whatever. You can't.
Do you ever miss those days?
You can't. Yeah, I do. What I miss the universe. I miss the shared universe of being able to have characters go from one book to another and have there be a real Image universe, a home where characters could all congregate. You could go, okay, well, what's going on in your book and what's going on in that, and just being able to have things swap back and forth. I got to do that a little bit recently when I was working on Spawn. I did a crossover with Savage Dragon, but that's 2 books. It's not like a universe.
Well, for a while, you took over Spawn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that work out? How did that come about?
You asked me.
Is that just that simple? Huh? That's easy.
Yes. I'm sorry to go into such detail, but it was pretty simple, direct kind of thing.
Yeah, because I remember back in the old days, you guys used to say that you guys would kind of like ink each other's pages and kind of shuffle pages around and, help each other out and kind of had your own mini like bullpen with one another.
That happened a lot with Todd and Spawn. It didn't happen as much with other people. Todd was very much like, you can do this. What, like your hair is so much different from my hair? You'll be fine. Just do that.
So there's like random pages out there, panels, and it's just like, here's just an Erik Larsen panel.
There's totally issues like that. There's issues in Spawn that Greg Capullo was drawing that'll be just like, and I inked that page. There's the first issue of Youngblood. There's a page that I inked.
Supreme. I remember there was an issue of Supreme that you inked, like the first.
I did a short run on Supreme too. I did 6.
Well, yeah, with Alan Moore, right?
Yeah, Alan did it was an old script that Alan had done that started it off, and then I just kind of took it and used it as a jumping off point. So there's fun to be had.
You talked about those times in the old days, and that's what reminded me of this.
Yeah.
And I remember reading this as a kid when Bedrock at the time shows up in Savage Dragon, and he's just picking a fight with Savage Dragon, and he's like, "Oh, I just wanted to see if you were tough enough to join Youngblood." And you took a jab at Marvel Comics when he was like, "Why? It happens in Marvel Comics all the time." I love that, man. I love that. So badass of you guys to leave and then take a small little jabs at this former boss. It's a dream. It's a dream.
Yeah, it's fun. It was fun.
I also like the times back. You guys did it once before in the early days of Image, where you guys switched books for like one issue. Where I think Jim did a Savage Dragon, and you guys kind of just traded off on one issue.
Yeah, we just traded.
Oh so. Yeah,
it's called like the X-over crossover. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you went back and you redid the numbers so that you would have like a complete run on your Savage Dragon.
I can do that. Yeah, it's crazy, but
man, then you threw the Turtles in there, and then Image for a while had the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
A little run, and then that's being reprinted by IDW.
Yeah. Recently.
Yeah. Yep. So I mean, that was a great time in comics. To be a fan, to be just reading these and just it was insane. It was there. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that since then, right? I mean, we have.
I don't think there'll ever be anything like that again.
I mean, we've got books that have blown up, like Robert Kirkman's Walking Dead #1, but you didn't see people stand in line for Walking Dead #1. You didn't see the insanity that.
And that's why Walking Dead #1 blew up, is because people didn't order the hell out of it, And so it's like if you got a first issue and you've only sold, what was it, 8,000 copies? You got those things gonna be worth a mint if that book blows up. And the book blew up, and then it's like, sorry, man, for everybody who's buying the book now, there just isn't a copy available of the first issue. You can't have it. You got to get a reprint of it because.
Or pay crazy money for it. We got 2 in the store, and they're crazy money.
Yeah.
Do you So back then, when you guys started, it was like the fans are going to follow the artist. We know it's going to happen. And now Image, as a company, has just shifted its focus, where it's like it's just not artists anymore. Now it's the actual writing material.
Is writers and coming up with things, or writer artists or whatever. People just creating their own things, and also people aren't really creating worlds so much. I mean, they're creating their own worlds. They're like, I want to have my own world that I can destroy or do whatever I want to, and that's a different kind of thing than a world where everybody's characters are interacting with one another. I would hope that at some point that we could start doing a little more of that. That some people would just go, you know what, I kind of do miss that part of it. Let's have these characters interact a little more.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. But then again, I don't see Savage Dragon hanging out with Rick in Walking Dead or things like that.
No, I mean, there's certain things that wouldn't make any sense, but you could certainly do something with. I mean, when Invincible was around, you could do that. But as a starting point, you can go, well, we got 27 years worth of Savage Dragon here. We got the same for Spawn. That's pretty decent starting point. It's a pretty decent foundation to start building a universe on. I mean, when DC started rebuilding the DC universe back in the 50s, I mean, at one point they just had Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and they didn't have all this other stuff. And suddenly they're like, hey, let's do Justice League and have these characters meet. And then they start introducing, here comes the Flash, and here comes Aquaman, and here comes all these other characters, and just kind of reintroducing them one after another, new origins, new versions of those characters, and suddenly, hey, you got a universe again. So it can be done. Historically it's been done.
I mean, from from an outsider looking in, it seems like the what Kirkman said a few years ago is coming to fruition, where a lot of guys are cutting their name in the big two, and then they're like, okay, I'm not gonna work on the big two anymore. I want to do image books. I want to do my own stuff. I want to work on my own projects. Hickman is a primary example of that. Hickman really built his name on Marvel with the Fantastic Four, his Avengers, and now,
you know, originally he started with us.
Yeah, Nightly News.
When I was a publisher, I published his first comic. You know, so the Nightly News was the first thing that he ever did. So he kind of made his name doing image stuff. Marvel then snapped him up. He became a bigger name after going over to Marvel and doing a bunch of stuff, and then came back to Image and going crazy over here now. So it's working out.
Are you seeing it where like the guys will start with you, maybe they'll go to the big two, and then they'll just be exclusively to Image because they feel they're getting a better deal or they get more creative freedom to do whatever they want?
Yeah. Well, they are getting a better deal. There's no two ways around it. I mean, you can do every bit. You know, you can be selling fewer copies and making way more money doing stuff at Image, which is, you know, it's like, all right, that sounds good.
Yeah,
and not anybody interfering at all. I mean, the creators of these books, they're entirely in charge. And even if they have somebody's name in their book as an editor, that editor answers to them. They don't answer to that editor. You know?
Yeah, I remember I heard Hickman say once that, this is back when he was doing Avengers and New Avengers. So he was doing Marvel's two biggest books at the time, probably at the peak of the popularity of Avengers, because it was about the time of the first movie. But he said he was making more money off of the residuals from just the trade paperbacks from East to West than he was in total what he was getting paid at Marvel. So just the trade paperback sales, he was making more than everything he was doing at Marvel at once. And that's the way it goes, and that's kind of the point of Image, and that's why
it's the difference between, you know, getting a 1.5% royalty and getting 100% of the money this book makes. You know, it's like, oh yeah, those are two very different numbers.
Those are very different numbers.
Yeah, I'm not that great at math, but I think 100% totally wins that one. So we hear rumors of a Spawn movie coming out. How about Savage Dragon? Who would you cast as Dragon?
I don't even think about it. It doesn't even.
Don't even think about it.
No idea. No idea. I mean, every now and then you look at a TV show where something's going on. It's, God, his face is kind of constructed like Dragon's face. I can totally see it, but it doesn't happen that much, and I don't really sit there and think about it a whole hell of a lot. I just rather do the comics, man. You know, it's okay for a comic book to just be a comic book.
There it is. That's what it's all about, the book itself.
It's, you know, I've done the cartoon, and it's an ordeal. It's work, and if you want it to be anything at all like what you want it to be, you've got to be on top of it, or really get good people on it who are going to do an awesome job. And that's a lot. That takes a lot.
But a lot of people have to compromise their vision to get it made too.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and for every, you know, for every success story, for every Walking Dead, there's a barbed wire and a Catwoman and Howard the Duck, and you can Green Lantern. You can just rattle off the failures one after another. You know,
or even things like Chew that, you know, never took off. You know, like they were trying to do like a cartoon for Chew. John Layman was saying, but it just never went anywhere. And you know, the licensing deal's over, and just that's it. It's done. So
yeah,
it might not even happen.
That happened too. And you want to go out telling everybody, oh, this is totally happening, and then it doesn't happen. Because I've seen that a million times where guys just been out yelling and screaming about, oh, they're going to make a whatever movie. And, and then some movies come out and it's like, oh, that was a wonderful movie. And when sometimes they come out and you go, oh, okay, that came out. I mean, as much as I enjoyed Scott Pilgrim, it didn't set the world on fire as a movie, It's like,
Right.
I like it more as a comic book than I do as a movie. And it's, you also get that weird, that doesn't quite look like, it's not the way that character looks to me. And it's like, well, it can't, because nobody looks like that. That's not a thing that people can look like. If somebody actually did look like Scott Pilgrim, they would be a freak. Just going, whoa.
I know you said that you kind of stay away from books that you've worked on, because it's almost like checking up on an old girlfriend on Facebook or something. But what about movies on books that you've worked on, like Spider-Man or maybe even the upcoming Venom movie?
I probably will see Venom once makes its way to the DVD collections. If it's there, I may check into it, but I probably won't go to the movies to see that. I've seen every Spider-Man movie in theaters. I've seen most of the Marvel movies. Some of the DC ones, it just depends on what it is. If word of mouth is good, then I'll go see it. I saw Wonder Woman in theaters. I did not see Justice League in theaters.
Smart choice.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
Oh, I've since seen it, and you are correct.
Does Image, or has Image ever thought about offering a service like Marvel's doing Marvel Unlimited for digital comics?
It's really difficult because of all the rights issues and all these various parts. That when you're Marvel, you own everything, and so if somebody goes online and they just want to read X-Men, they don't care, whatever, or just read X-Men, whatever. You can have access to our full library of books, and if you just read X-Men, that's fine. If you have access to our full library of books and you just read Savage Dragon and you're not getting the other stuff, well, how do you divide that pie up? Do I get everything, or is that like, well, you're subscribed to the whole of Image Comics, so the whole of Image Comics, everybody's getting a fraction of a fraction for that, and it becomes kind of an accounting nightmare to make something like that work. So, oh well.
No, I can see what you mean, because you're right. If the creator owns a certain amount of the residual coming in, then how do you know how to spread it out evenly if you have everything out there? So I can see the problem with that.
If you're going to the Marvel one, it's so super simple. It's all one company, and it's all just revenue, and they don't even probably share any of that revenue with creators at that point, because it's Marvel Unlimited, and we don't know how to do that math. Because what, you're getting 1.5 of a cover price of a book that's online, that's part of this huge thing that maybe somebody's looking at and maybe they're not, and how, if I'm paying for it as a monthly subscription thing to be able to see all the Marvel comics, I'm going to be paying the same amount of money this month as I am any other month. And if I look at 2 books this month, I'm still paying the same amount as if I look on 300 next month. So it just becomes really complicated. Like, how do we do this? By time? How long he's actually got this open on his computer? Or how are we dividing this thing up?
Well, I asked that question because it came from the chat, but you're talking to collected edition guys. We like physical, so
yeah, well,
no problems here.
I would like to be able to do more of things where we sell the comics as chunks, because I've got this huge chunk where I can just go, like when I go and buy a song on iTunes, I got the option to complete this album. Why couldn't we do that digitally? Complete my collection. You've got 15 issues of scattered issues of Savage Dragon. Press a button, complete my collection for pennies a serving. Bam, there's the whole thing. Awesome. I don't know, something to think of.
Do you kind of see the future being digital mostly, or
do I what?
Do you see the future being mostly digital?
I hope not. I'm not very into that. I don't really like looking at comics that way.
I can't put digital comics on my shelf, so.
No, you can't, but you can bring them with you. It's like if you're traveling on an airplane, you can't bring 300 copies of Spider-Man if you wanted to read the first 300 issues of Spider-Man on a run.
Don't test me, Eric, because
challenge accepted.
I used to travel for work, and I would take my omnibus, the big books we're talking about, in a backpack, and read them on the plane. And now I have a tablet. It makes it easier.
Yeah,
but, I have done it. It is possible. It is possible. I don't recommend it.
No.
Especially when
signing books for people at shows where clearly people are like willing to travel with stuff. They'll be like, I got 2 long boxes and they're all yours. It's like, oh, okay, we're going to be here a while.
So how do you work that at a convention? Somebody comes up with a crazy amount of books. Do you sign them all, make everybody wait? Do you stagger it, or how does that kind of work?
I'll do is I'll stagger. I'll be like, I'll sign a chunk of them. But if there's people who are coming up, they got to be able to get in here, and you can get back to the back of the line. I'll do another 10 books for you or whatever. And we'll just grind through this. But I can't have you just holding it to everybody. That's no good.
There's always that one guy.
That dude with the hand cart. Yeah.
With the wheelbarrows.
I'll sign whatever anybody brings. I don't care.
That's awesome.
Including books that I had nothing to do with. Which I've done before, because it's like, you gotta get a little kid who's just like, I heard you drew Spider-Man. Here's an issue of Spider-Man, and they just hand you this book which has been worn to the point where it feels like cloth, and you're just like, all right. Here, I guess I'm signing this issue of Web of Spider-Man.
Awesome. That's really commendable though, because there are other artists. I've been to a convention many years ago where, and I know John Byrne is known as the bad boy of comics, or the old bad boy of comics, but he literally took a kid's comic and he's drawing comics and he threw it on the ground. He was like, I didn't draw that, and he keeps on going without missing a beat. He just keeps signing the books, right? So it's really nice to hear that you at least like.
Oh my God!
Something.
Usually, I will ask them, because I'll say, I didn't draw this comic. Do you want me to sign it anyway? And sometimes they'll go, oh no, that shouldn't be in there. And sometimes they'll be, why, absolutely. You work on comic books. This is a comic book. I have no reason you shouldn't be signing this.
What about for doing sketches at conventions? Like, what do you charge? Like, is there like a limit that you have that you could do at a convention, or how does your policy work for that kind of stuff?
I just take a list, and people will show up. Everybody pays up front. I make a list, and I've never done a convention where I haven't been able to get to everybody. So, and that may mean some real late nights. We'll sit around in the hotel lobby and go, I got homework. How about you? I got homework too. And we'll sit there and grind stuff out. And there'll be times where we'll kind of help each other out even. I know that in a few cases, people who've gotten sketches from other artists and being like, that's a very dramatic pose from whoever this artist is, and it's like, well, it's because Erik Larsen laid that out for me.
That's awesome. It's like a double sketch almost. That's great.
That'd be such a treat to own, though. That's so cool.
Like, surprise.
And it'd be so obvious too, Erik Larsen layout, because it'd be just so dramatic. Like it's so dynamic of a pose. I know.
Do you keep up with the rest of the co-founders of Image? Do you guys ever keep up? Like, have a picnic once a year, or at least, or see each other at conventions and be like, "Hey, let's grab some drinks."
At conventions, we'll see each other. There'll be times where there's official Image business that needs to be transacted. You know, where it's like, hey, we got to have an Image meeting, and so we'll get together. And when we moved the company up to Portland, we got the band back together. We all went up there and hung out for a day or two and saw the new digs and what that was all about. So we get together every so often, but it's not continuous. It's not like, oh, I'm sick of these guys. I see them all the goddamn time. And people are in touch that they'll call if something's going on. Yeah. But there's always, you know, some people you see more than others, some people you hang out with more than others, whatever. So that works out. But they're all good guys. I mean, there's nobody in the company that I'm like, oh, I can't stand that guy. He's a dick. But, you know, there's varying degrees of I love him, but you know, yeah. So yes, I see them. Yes, we hang out when there's time to hang out, but we don't live close to one another, so it's not like I can just drive over and see somebody.
Because it's a lot different than having the studio and everybody there.
Which there never was an Image. It was.
Oh, that's right. You guys had different studios.
Never had one big. I mean, several of the guys had studios of their own and had various artists that were working out of that particular office, but I was never part of that whole thing, which is fine. Worked for me.
Yeah, because you didn't really seem to pump out a lot of different books at the time. You kind of just stuck with your Savage Dragon for the most part.
Early on, I did a few.
Right.
Super Patriot and Freak Force and a few others.
Branched out for a while. I remember that.
Yeah.
All the miniseries and ongoings.
Yeah, that was fun enough to do, but there was no studio and I didn't have, so it was all telephone, calling people and trying to get them to do what they needed to do.
You ever think about creating another book?
Every now and then I've been like, oh, I should totally do something else, and every now and then I do a little something here and there, just to do it. But an ongoing title is a commitment. That's a lot, and just doing the Dragon on a regular basis is, depending on what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, can be pretty time consuming. I mean, I'm working really big these days, so that can just be like, it just takes up more time because it's so much more space. It's like twice the real estate that I used to be working on.
Did you ever get any like backlash for any of the stuff that you've done in Dragon? I know there was like some controversial issues in the past, but I didn't know if you had people.
Not a lot. Not a lot. There'll be a couple letters. One kid had his, thanks, my mom took away my early on, super early on, just like Rapture riding Dragon on an issue. It's like, oh, well, what do you know? But at this point, I'm pretty sure the vast majority of my audience is all consenting adults. So.
And they all kind of know what to expect from Savage Dragon by now.
Okay.
Well, Savage Dragon is so good at this point. It's just getting so over the top. It's excellent. There's just so much fun going on in it.
Yeah, it's like, I can do anything.
Yeah. It's getting a little more sexier and racier and stuff like that, but that's the fun of it. It's all what you want to do with it.
Yeah, I could. And the thing is, it's like if the following month I just feel like I think I want to do this, and then it's like I'll do that too. You know, like I felt like doing a kind of Calvin and Hobbes thing for a bunch of double page spreads in a row. Let's try that out. Okay.
Speaking of, are you still experimenting with different size paper for the originals, or because I remember a couple issues you just kind of changed up every page is almost like a different size.
Yeah, I did. I did that
playing
for
with it.
2 issues in a row where I did one issue where I drew it really, really tiny. It's like, look what this looks like, and it was like, oh, it looks like ass. Well, that's good to know. I'd gotten some original art from Corey Walker, and he drew his pages really small. So I'm like, I got to try this out. This is gonna be awesome. And it wasn't. It was horrific. I was like, oh, I just don't have the kind of control that he has. I can't work this tiny. And then I did a couple in a row where I was just varying it from page to page, because there'll be times where I'll be like, I want to do a splash page which is just somebody's face, and to draw a face that's super big, it's hard to kind of maintain those long swooping lines, and some of it, and faces can get kind of bent out of shape if you're working really big. And now I'm just back. It's too much of a pain in the ass. I was just like, all right, I'm back to just doing it the twice up size that I've been working on.
Oh, you do twice up? That's excellent. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I actually do is twice up plus a bleed. So
you go full edge, huh? Okay.
Yeah, because like this is an example of a page. This is like the splash page from the issue I'm working on. So if this interior box here is the old twice up size, but because pages bleed and they go out all the way up to the edge, I added that extra area. So on the cover to this issue, it's the full bleed, and so it's going all the way out to the edge. So that's a large piece of paper, you know. And just comparing it size wise,
well, that's humongous compared to the
that's
eight.
Mandy, and that's approximately the size of standard original art these days. So.
And you rarely sell your originals, correct? You have just like a closet full of all this stuff?
I've got a bunch. Yeah, it takes up a huge amount of space in my life.
Are you just gonna keep sitting on it?
I have sold a few of it. Usually, I don't want to, because I bought a bunch of comics that are intact. Where I bought the whole issue, whole issue of Commandy, whole issue of Hulk, whatever. I was like, well, I don't want to break up these issues, so I've been selling them as full issues, and I've sold a fair amount of them. Not enough that you would look at the stacks and go, "Wow, you got hardly anything," but enough that it feels like I've gotten rid of some. And then there's a few issues that are broken up because of the nature of the issue. Like I'm reusing a page from a previous issue as a flashback. So this issue can't be complete because there's only 19 pages or 18 pages or whatever, because I'm recycling pages. So I guess this issue's broken up, and I'll just bring this to a convention and sell the pages individually. Come first serve kind of thing. And I've sold a few issues that way. I think I've broken up 6 issues, maybe 6 or 7. So they're out there.
Working at Marvel, did you get to keep all the original art there that you did for Spider-Man or any of those issues?
If I'm inking it, yes.
Oh, okay.
If I'm not inking it, then the inker got 1/3 of the pages, and I got 2/3.
Okay. So if you're inking it yourself, you get the whole thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you did you keep those, or did you sell some of those?
They're all gone. I've sold everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Omar just cried a little bit.
Every one of them. So all the Spider-Man stuff is long gone. Making me have like a pinup or two from one of those issues where it just had, you know, random inkers on it. Just like, oh, cool. Joe Sinnott inked this page. I want to keep this Joe Sinnott ink page. But for the most part, I've sold that stuff, especially the really early stuff. And also, my house burned down in 91. So
We're reading about that.
anything that I had prior to that is just gone. It just doesn't exist anymore. So,
Yeah, you talked about like losing a lot of the sketches and stuff that you used to have, like especially for the original Dragon, you know, Megaton and all that stuff.
yeah,
Man, that's gotta hurt as an art, as your creation, you know.
yeah. I mean, it would have been cool to just be able to look at it and remember, like, oh, there's this character that you drew when you were in 5th grade that you forgot that you created. You should do something with this guy. And like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, you should. Forgot about him. But there's enough stuff. Mostly the characters that I liked, that I thought were good. I did stuff with them. I kept using them. So they existed in one form or another, and I was able to just be able to use them again.
Oh, okay. Jess, I was going to let you know if you want to grab a couple questions from the chat so we can.
Okay.
start
There
wrapping
is
them up.
one thing.
Go ahead.
One thing, we do have bills to pay, so I need to let you know that this episode of Omnibros Live is brought to you by InStockTrades.com.
Woo!
Where you can get
really?
Yeah, we have a sponsor. Where you can get up to 50% off your collected editions. Loyalty discounts add 2% to that. They frequently have 3% sales, fabulous packaging, fabulous customer service, and if you order over $50 in the United States, you get free shipping.
Wow.
Back to the chat.
That is a wonderful product and or service.
Thank you. It has the Erik Larsen endorsement now.
Yeah, that's where we all get our stuff. That's where we get our Savage Dragons and all the Image collected editions that you guys put out. To have
For reference, you can actually get the Savage Dragon Archives Volume 1 for $11.59 on InStock Trade.
That's just pennies a serving.
See, I thought you were testing the water with those books, right? You were like, okay, let's try the black and white, see if the thick black and white books work out.
I wish it were simple, but unfortunately, it's more complicated than you know. Because,
absolutely. I'm sure it is.
Basically, what's happened with a lot of the earlier Image books is that the color files used to be comparatively enormous. And so what would happen is people would be able to hold like 2 pages on a disc, and things would be huge and take up all this space, and people would send discs to foreign countries to be translated into other languages, and sometimes those discs came back and sometimes they didn't. And there are full issues of a lot of titles that are simply missing. They don't exist. And to get them recolored is expensive, and it would not look anything like they originally did, or very close to what they originally did. So it's not like the old Marvel comics where it's flat color and a red is a red and it's going to look like that same red regardless. It's a whole different thing. So there's big chunks of Savage Dragon where we simply don't have color files for a lot of it. Luckily, I had all this original art, and I could, for the early issues, like it just meant, okay, you got to sit down and scan in this entire book. And so that was what I did, go through the first few volumes of the Savage Dragon Archives. That's me going through and manually scanning page after page after page. And then there's a bunch of different things too that I had to adjust because it was going to be in black and white. They'd be like, oh, this is a Starfield, but because when I was drawing it, I knew this is going to be in color, so I'm just going to draw all these stars as black, and then I'm going to have them reverse them out as white through a color, and this will look great. And it did. And then it's like, now it's going to be black and white, and all your stars are going to be black, and that's not going to look cool. So I'd have to go into those files, turn the sky into a zipatone, turn the stars into white, so that it worked. And it was just this time-consuming ordeal to make this stuff work.
Okay, I'm going to take a chance here and ask if I'm out of bounds here. You can tell me, because I'm asking this question from the chat, and I don't know who this person is, but there's a couple people who want to know what your opinion on Andrew J. Shaw is. Do you know who that is?
I have no idea who that is.
Okay, chat, don't ask the question again, any of you. You just made me look bad. Thank you. I apologize for that.
That was bound to happen anyway, Jess. It was bound to happen.
That I was going to ask a dumb question?
Yeah, we knew it was
coming. Yeah, I mean,
I thought it would be of my own.
Point out that it's like, oh, that's a guy who's written 1 million letters or something, and you should.
That's exactly who it is. It's somebody that's written into every Image comic ever in the world, and he's supposedly a famous fan letter writer.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Okay. Yeah, it's all coming back to me. Yeah, I mean, some of his letters are super bonehead letters that I've gotten from that dude. But you know,
oh, you do remember him?
It's coming back to me. So it's like, but it's like some of them are pretty. They're just. It's not like he's saying much. There's not much there to respond to. And so it's like, I don't know how to respond to this. what do I say here? And
we get some odd comments on video sometimes. We don't know how to respond to them.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what do I say other than delete?
Which we just get into chat. Thank you, everybody.
So I mean, I can print. I've probably printed a few of his letters over the years. But, you know, I don't print them all, that's for sure.
We have another question. It's, who are some of your favorite side characters to write? You have a massive amount of side characters. And unfortunately, some didn't make it past issue 50 or 75. So you love killing them off, which it's your baby. But who are some of your favorite ones that you've written, either that are still in the book or gone?
Well, I mean, right now I'm just enjoying the characters that are in the book. So, you know, Malcolm Dragon and his wife Maxine. I enjoy writing Maxine's dialogue a lot, and I like writing a kind of rapport back and forth with those two characters. It's a lot of fun. I love writing Mr. Glum. He's like super fun character to write. So doing Angel and Mr. Glum is a lot of fun. Just depends. Killcat and the Kid Avenger, the Dudley duo, those guys are a lot of fun to write because they're such knuckleheads. It's fun when the characters have a real distinct personality that you know. You know, it's like if somebody is just unbelievably stupid, and or has some strong defining character trait where you just go, oh my god, I can't believe he would blow it in such a spectacular fashion. That becomes fun to write.
So when somebody's trying to make it into Image, like back in the day, right? People brought art, and they usually went to the big two editors, right? Marvel and DC. Yeah. They were like, "Hey, man, here's my stuff. Please hire me." I mean, we live in a digital age now, and you know everybody has like DeviantArt and things like that. So how is that experience now for somebody trying to make it into comic books, like Image, right? It seems like Image is the place that takes a gamble on a lot of people, right?
Yeah,
you guys hear?
Well, basically we print books. We're not assembling teams for the most part. We're printing comics. So in that case, with Image Central, what that means is you're pitching a book the same as you would if you were pitching to a book publisher. It's like, okay, well, what's the book? Who are the creators? Let's take it from there, you know. And sometimes you get terrible books pitched from good creators, and it's like, okay, what do I do here? This sounds awful, and it doesn't look very good.
You tell them this sounds more like a fit for Marvel Comics. Is what you do.
Well, you know, sometimes things are like conceptually cool, and sometimes they're not. And it's like, wow, that sounds an awful lot like something else that we're already doing. Happens a bit, you know, where people go, oh, you guys are doing The Walking Dead. That's really successful. I want to do a book just like The Walking Dead. It's like, what? That's not cool. We don't want to just be doing a whole bunch of different zombie books. That's not all right. You know, but on the other hand, if we're doing superhero stuff, that seems like, you know, bring them on. Let's do as many superhero books as you want. But, you know, if you've got 6 different people who are all doing, I want to do a superhero high school, that's like, okay, that's awesome. But it can kind of get to be an overkill if too many people are all kind of coming up with similar things or similar names or just a number of different things. Just being like, okay, enough is enough. But it does all come from creators, and sometimes there'll be creators who we will contact. Sometimes it'll be through other creators where, you know, we'll get a call from somebody. It's like, you know, we're already doing a book with Joe Casey, but Joe Casey has friends, and they want to do books, and then those friends have friends who want to do books, and you know, they're all good and they're pitching good stuff. Awesome, we'll do more of that.
So it's not as simple as, like, say, a Brian K. Vaughan who just says, hey, I want to do a book, and you go, okay. You actually have to pitch just like anybody else. They have to go through the whole process.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain people who we have trust with. And
right.
So, you know, I mean, generally speaking, if Brian's pitching a book, we're unlikely to say no. But it kind of does depend on the creator and their track record and what goes on.
Yeah, I'm sure Brian K. Vaughan's an exception. You know, he has to really stagger off and do something bad and not to reject them, I would think.
But there's probably there may be 50 guys who would be exceptions. You go, you know, 50 different guys who it's like if they're bringing a book, you just be like, all right, yeah, I'm in.
Without saying names or getting into too much detail, can you give us an example of a really bad pitch you got from somebody you thought was going to be good?
No. I mean, we've had stuff that hasn't been as successful as we'd like, and there's been times around where you just go, yeah, that's not a very strong character design. You try to walk people through it and get it to the point where it's better. You know, sometimes just unfortunate names are chosen or whatever. When the book Ultra was pitched, the Luna brothers wanted to call it Heroine, which, I mean, she's the heroine of the book. I get it, but the word heroine also is very much like the word heroin. And they're only one letter apart in terms of spelling, and it might not necessarily read that this book is about what you want people to think it's about. So maybe you want to choose a different word. So there's a little back and forth with them on that until they decided, okay, Ultra, we'll go with that, the name of the character, which, you know, that book did all right. So
You think we'll ever see the finished Image United book that Kirkman and you guys were working on? Do you remember that? And I'm sure you get asked this question a lot.
If I were a betting man, I would not bet that would ever happen.
That's an honest answer.
I think that would be a really, really safe bet.
You guys even got Jim
Unfortunately.
Lee back to do a cover.
I know.
That was epic, man.
It was crazy. It was crazy. The people who were willing to do it, and then now everybody's kind of scattered to the wind. It's weird to look back at unfinished pages of that, or finished pages from it. We just go, oh, look, there's Malcolm, and he's a little kid, and he's hanging out with his dad, who's alive and has superpowers. Crazy. You know,
We have a 5 minutes to go. Letting the chat know if they want to put in any questions for Mr. Erik Larsen, and don't ask me to ask him about anybody else unless it's Jack Kirby or somebody like that we've heard about. No more letter writers. Peace and love. Good.
I don't know everybody. I don't know. You know, I know of some creators. I don't know every creator. I haven't met everybody. And there's some people I know by sight and not by name, and vice versa. So there'll be
What words of wisdom, or what encouraging words rather would you give somebody that's trying to break into comics, whether as a writer or as an artist? Like if you could travel back in time and tell yourself when you were younger, like,
well, I was doing what needed to be done, and what anybody who wants to break into the business needs to do is to produce work. You just need to get the work done. And it's fine to do stuff for no money early on. Because what you want at the end of the day is you want to be able to show the next guy, look, I've done something. I've actually completed it. You know, I've gone to conventions and had people come up to me and show me 3 unfinished pinups. It's like, really? Show me. I want to see a comic book. I want to see 20 pages of something, of story, sequential art. You know, if you're a writer, write, for crying out loud. Write stories. Write fan fiction. Get that going. Get that momentum going. Those pages turned out. I've had an awful lot of people. In the back of my book, I mean, I fill up 20 pages of Savage Dragon. In the back of my book, I've got room. So on occasion, I run stuff from various artists who just want to see their stuff in print in some form. And frequently what I'll do is I'll write stories for these people to draw, and then I'll publish them when they're drawn. I'll get them professionally lettered and professionally colored, and I'll publish their comics. They get paid nothing to do this. And if they don't want to do this stuff, fine. I've got stuff I can run in the back of the book. I've got drawings. I could draw kids drawings from when I was a kid or whatever. There's always stuff to be put in the back of the book. I can run ads for other Image comics, which most Image comics do. So, but I'm just saying, there's a space that's available. And if I'm pestered by some artist who wants to do something, one of the fastest ways to get them to quit pestering me forever is to send them a plot, because I will never hear from them again. So many people just will never get off their ass and draw something. And I've had a few occasions where I've send people plots, and they've done like some rough layouts, and then just stall, and that's it. It's like, that's all I see from them.
That's an amazing gift to give people, like to give someone a spotlight. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, didn't a few of these artists blow up? Like the guy that drew East of West, I think. Wasn't he in a backup issue?
I've had a bunch of guys who've done stuff early on who just...
I think nobody else does that. I mean, that's a nice medium to break people in and get their name out there. That's awesome.
There's nothing like experience to kind of, you learn so much of seeing stuff in print, just to go, oh, I left hella big margins. I had no idea. You know, my space between my panels is crazy. I had no idea how to do a full bleed. I didn't leave enough room for it to bleed. You know, you just learn all this stuff. Oh, I thought those lines would be crystal clear and it all clogged up. Or I didn't know you would see this and you can see it perfectly well. Or any number of things. You just learn so much just seeing stuff in print that you can use down the road to do the next thing. Oh, this worked really well. I'm going to try more of this. This didn't work well at all. Yikes. You know?
I think that's just a good rule in general for life. If you want to do something, get off your ass and just start doing it. You're not going to get paid right away. That's not how it works.
No. And the thing is, people will I know it's common to have people say, don't work for nothing. Nobody works for nothing. But if I'm going and getting a job as a chef at a local eatery, they want to know that I know how to cook. And either I'm coming recommended because I've been a chef and I've done stuff all over the place, or if I'm coming to them cold, they're going to say, go into that kitchen and cook me something. And if I'm saying to them, well, you need to pay me, I'm not getting that job. You have to do the work. You have to show people that you can do the job that you're applying for.
Yeah, how badly do you want it? That's what it really comes down to.
How bad do you want it? I did all kinds of stuff for nothing. I self-published my own fanzines when I was a kid. I drew several 20-page long stories that I wrote pencil and ink that I never saw a nickel for. But those jobs got me other jobs. That stuff got me going. I did tons of samples for Marvel and DC of characters jumping around doing stuff. I did 29 pages of pencils for DC that they flat out lost. And I never even heard back from them on.
Wow.
And it's like, that's a lot of time and energy and effort that didn't end up going anywhere. But those pages taught me a lot and I got better. And each time you do something, you get a little bit better and you work out some of those kinks, some of those little problems you have, and you just get better and better and better. And that's what you're hoping to do.
Yeah, a lot of artists start out as other artists' background work or background artists, and that's just earning your stripes. That's just taking your lumps.
It's just I want to figure out how to do this stuff. Can somebody help me figure out how to do this stuff? Please, for the love of God, show me how to do. I don't know what I'm doing. What do I need to do? It's tougher for me with writers because I'll have writers going, I want to write a backup for you. And it's like, me talking you through what can and can't work and all the personalities of these characters and what they would and wouldn't do. That's way more effort than I want to go through. It's just faster and easier for me to do it. And that ends up being a lot of it. It's faster for me to do it than for me to have somebody else do it.
That's some great advice, man. I always like to ask people that because you guys have been around. You know what it takes to make it, right? There's very, very few people out there that got a lucky break right from the start.
No, well, and also who's a really great artist who's able to produce a body of work who just can't get arrested, who just can't get work at all. It's like, oh, he's really great. Nobody will give him work. Oh, wow, that's strange. That doesn't happen. If you're really good, you get work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like everybody I know wants to work with great people. If you're doing great work, everybody I know wants to work with you. So, contact them. and they'll do it. They'll put you to work. But, the biggest problem is people just don't do it. They don't do the work. Yeah.
Very true. Very true. That's the saying. 90% of anything is really just showing up and doing it. So
yeah, you need to show up. I we're putting together, speaking of fat books, we're putting together a collection of my first stuff when I first started out was a book called Megaton.
Oh yeah.
We're putting out a collection of like the complete Megaton, and it's got everything in it. It's got all the issues, and then there's a bunch of outtakes and letters from people and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Before and all this different thing. It's like a huge amount of page, like 400 or 500 page long book. It's just big.
That's what I'm talking about, Eric.
Coming out, So it's like let's put this weighty tome out there, and it's got. I'm in there, and Rob Liefeld's in there, and Gene Day's in there, and Jackson Geis has got a little story in there, and a bunch of guys who ended up becoming, regular comic book guys, regular names that you've seen are in there doing stuff. And then there's a few guys you go, oh, that guy's pretty good. Wonder what ever happened to him. And it's like, well, those pages he produced, that's the extent of his career.
Is that going to be a hardcover, that Megaton book?
It's the format hasn't been settled on yet. So, we could do it as a hardcover. We could do it as a soft cover. It doesn't, it gets more expensive you do it as a hardcover than.
But you get the true collectors that are willing to shell out that buck.
I'm in on a hardcover for sure. I'm in.
Some of this stuff is a little raw. We
don't have a problem.
That's the fun part of it.
It's like reprinting stuff from the Golden Age in a nice format. You can just be like, oh, yeah, a lot of those guys weren't very good, were they? You flip through those. What was it? Those DC books when they would do those hardcovers. They would
the spotlights, archives.
Not the spotlights. I don't remember what they were called, but they would do like 10 issues at a time, and they were hardcover, and they were
archives.
$50 to $75 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And you would get them, and you're just like, this thing is awful from front to back. There's nothing worth looking at in here. But it's like, oh, those are those early issues of Detective Comics. And what are you going to do?
Well, I tell you what, I would just keep looking at the chat right now. We would not be the only ones buying a hardcover of Savage Dragon. Just wanted to throw that out there one more time at you.
Yeah.
And if it fails, you got my cell phone number. If it fails, you can call me and put me on a spam mailer.
Yeah, that's the thing. What I wish I could do is just be like, let's just put it all out at once. Just have it be this big box set, and it'll just be the whole goddamn thing. It's like,
oh my god! Now you're speaking our language.
Don't tease us, man. Don't tease us. That sounds awesome.
That's what I'd like to do, because then I wouldn't have that drop off of issue 1 sold this, and then issue 2, like that. Because it always ends up being this middle period where you go, well, this stuff's not been collected because the books weren't selling well enough to continue doing it this way.
Well, Marvel's been doing it. Marvel's been doing it with like their box sets. So, Image hasn't. I don't think that's a market that Image has tapped yet. A box set, and you can be the first one with Savage Dragon. There you go, man.
Yeah, the problem is it can never be the complete Savage Dragon because it'll never be done.
It'll never end. It's always just more box sets coming out.
You can call it Box Set 1,
right.
knowing that there's going to be a second one.
Like an excellent beginning. 240 issue collection.
What books out there do you recommend right now that you've been reading, or that maybe Image is even putting out that you recommend? This is a question from the chat.
I'm going to forget. I'd have to look around the room and be like, "Oh, Southern Bastard's awesome! Oh,
Southern Bastards is awesome."
Yeah, it is.
That's a great book.
It's like I always get Walking Dead. I always still read that.
Well,
it's like there's all this stuff that I'm really.
Southern Bastards is great because they had that big twist at the beginning where they don't
ruin it.
They changed things.
Say it. I had somebody spoil it for me, and I was like, "Oh man."
Oh no, I was tiptoeing around it, but that's what like with Savage Dragon, the main character changes after a while. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No things. It's cool when you do like, oh no, this book is. You thought it was about this? Surprise! It's about something else entirely. I need to make a list of all that, because everybody does always ask, and I'm always like, oh, what do I got?
That's how they kind of tricked you guys, right, into publishing Walking Dead. They're like, no, it's not about just zombies. It's going to be about an alien invasion zombies.
Yeah,
That's pretty smart, though.
Yeah, no, that worked.
It worked.
Well, Robert had a tough time kind of getting it going at all. So yeah, I think his first Image stuff was through me, because he wrote a Super Patriot miniseries that was drawn by Cory Walker, which sort of was their proving ground, so that they could go and do Invincible afterward. So he kind of started through there. So it's like, all right, I'll get you going, see how this goes, and whatever worked. And then from that, it was Invincible, Walking Dead, kind of were the next wave, and suddenly he's off to the races.
Yeah, you guys took Kirkman, man. He was a Kentucky boy. You took him out of here. Made him into a Hollywood guy now.
Yeah, swimming pools, movie stars.
Yeah, you ever look at that show and you're like, hey, I helped do that. That's me, Erik Larsen.
I have. In all honesty, I have not seen one frame of that show.
You're not really missing out on
much. I'm not gonna. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying anything about it. I don't. I'm not a TV watcher. We own one. Occasionally, we will see a movie or something on it, but I'm just not that guy. I'm more of a reader and more of a producer of work. I'm too busy making stuff.
It's really good that you have that mentality, though, because a lot of people that like to produce material, and I'll just use like, I don't know, Kevin Smith or like Quentin Tarantino, also love to be entertained so much that kind of distracts them, and they have this giant gap in the stuff that they do, like 9 years between movies and things like that, right? So it's really cool that you're like, nah, I like to create things and I want to keep creating. That's awesome.
I mean, my comic book reading is just like, I've got some stuff that I keep by the bed, and I've got stuff that I keep in the John. And other than that, I don't, for the most part, I can't tell you the last time that I read a comic book where it wasn't trying to nod off and go to sleep, or, using the facilities. And I'm not just sitting there, I'm just going to sit here and read. It's like, I got stuff to do. I got stories to write. I got pages to script at this point.
All right. Well, now I let the fanboy out earlier when I was talking to you on the phone, but I want to again thank you for joining us and for being patient with all the technical difficulties we were having.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, not your fault. It's all Google. It's all Google.
We learned something here today.
This was a lot of fun, Erik. This was great. It was like, man, revisiting a lot of the past was just nice to go back and talk to, and you had some amazing things. Like you promised us the Savage Dragon box set coming out within the next year.
Yeah,
I think I can
hardcover Megaton. That's gonna be great.
You already tweeted that, Gabe, right? It's already.
I did.
Don't forget to tag Erik Larsen on that.
I got video. I'll edit the video for it.
Yeah, it's the missing issues is going to be the problem, because that recreating that stuff either means scanning the comics super well, and that's always somewhat problematic, or just getting it recolored from scratch, which is an ordeal. So I wish it were easy.
Well, whichever way you decide to re-release those books, we will be buying them for sure.
Right.
Thank you for all the years of entertainment, sir.
Excellent.
Thank you for your part in changing the industry with starting Image Comics and paving the way for more creator-owned.
Oh, sure. My pleasure.
Thank you very much, Erik. We appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Thanks,
Thank you. Have a great one.
All right. Talk to you later.
Absolutely.
We'll do
You're
it
always
again.
welcome here, sir.
All right. Let's do this again sometime.
It'll
We'll
happen.
hold you to that. We'll hold you to that.
All right.
Okay, on behalf of Comics Guide 101, which is Lou, and Near Mint Condition, which is Omar, Gabe Infinity Watch, which is Gabe, and me, I'm Omnidog from Omnidog's Vault. We are the OmniBros, and we appreciate all of you folks for watching. Please go to InStockTrades.com for all your collected edition needs. And with that, I say good night, peace and love, peace and love.
Good night, everybody.